Hello. In this video, we'll take a look at the familial relationships of the dynasties and kings who ruled in England from William the Conqueror to James I. Firstly, we start with the Norman dynasty. This dynasty was established when William the Bastard, Duke of Normandy, claimed the throne of England and defeated Harold Godwinson at the Battle of Hastings in 1066. William consolidated his power in England and successfully established himself as the legitimate king. This success marked the end of the Anglo-Saxon era in England and played a significant role in shaping the England of today. In his will, William left the Duchy of Normandy to his eldest son Robert and the Kingdom of England to his third son William. Robert rebelled against his brother to claim the English throne but was unsuccessful, later joining the First Crusade. Meanwhile, in 1100, William II died childless due to a hunting accident. Seizing this opportunity, his younger brother Henry succeeded to the English throne after him. Despite attempts by Robert to claim the English throne, he again failed and abandoned his claims through the Treaty of Alton. Subsequently, his lands in Normandy were seized by Henry I and he was imprisoned. King Henry I had a male heir besides his brother William, but his heir, his son William Adelin, died in the White Ship disaster in 1120. Henry spent the rest of his life trying to establish his daughter Matilda as his legitimate heir. English barons were reluctant about this. Henry died in 1135. However, instead of Matilda, the grandson of William the Conqueror, Stephen, succeeded. This led to the beginning of a civil war that would last from 1135 to 1153, known as the Monarchy period. Matilda and Stephen engaged in a long and devastating conflict. Unable to defeat each other, the two sides reached a compromise with the Winchester Agreement. According to the agreement, Stephen recognized Matilda's son Henry I as his heir. With Stephen's death in 1154, Matilda's son Henry ascended to the throne as King Henry II. Henry had also inherited the county of Anjou from his recently deceased father. In 1152, Henry married Eleanor of Aquitaine, the former wife of King Louis VII of France. This marriage further solidified his influence over the Duchy of Aquitaine. Henry's son, Richard the Lion-Hearted, became famous for his participation in the Second Crusade and his adventurous personality. His brother John, on the other hand, became notorious for his conflicts with the barons and the loss of territories in France. Other kings descended from John's line also dealt with struggles with the barons and internal turmoil. However, they were successful in increasing their influence in Ireland and Wales. It was King Edward III who shaped both internal and external politics of England until the end of the Middle Ages. Edward's mother, Isabella, was a princess of the Kingdom of France. King Philip of France, Isabella's father, did not have male heirs to succeed him on the throne. Edward III claimed the throne of France. However, the Salic law was in effect in France, which excluded women and their descendants from inheritance rights. Adhering to this law, the French refused to accept Edward's claim and instead placed Philip of Valois, the closest male relative of King Philip, on the throne of France. Thus, the 100 Years' War began. Apart from this, descendants of Edward III would engage in power struggles following his reign. Edward's eldest son, Edward the Black Prince, had passed away in 1376, 1 year before his father. According to English inheritance law, Edward's son Richard succeeded to the throne after his grandfather. However, in 1399, Richard II was deposed by his cousin Henry IV. The dynasty to which Henry belonged is known as the Lancaster dynasty. Under the reign of Henry's grandson, Henry IV, the 100 Years' War ended with England's defeat. Subsequently, the Wars of the Roses ensued, lasting approximately 30 years, which was a civil war between the Lancaster dynasty and the rival York dynasty, descended from Edward III. This war was fiercely contested. While it appeared that the war ended with the York dynasty's destruction of the Lancaster dynasty, it concluded with the ascension of Henry VII from the Tudor dynasty, who defeated Richard III. Thus, the Tudors became the legitimate rulers of England. Henry's mother was a member of the Lancaster dynasty. Henry later married Elizabeth, the daughter of King Edward IV of the York dynasty. This union effectively united the two dynasties under his reign, lending legitimacy to his rule. Henry's daughter Margaret was married to King James IV of Scotland. Succeeding Henry was the eighth. He married 6 times and initiated reforms within the church. Henry VIII's third wife, Jane Seymour, bore him a son who succeeded him as Edward VI. However, Edward was of delicate health and died at around the age of 15. He was succeeded by Lady Jane Grey, who had been declared the heir at that time, but she could only retain the throne for 9 days. She was deposed and executed by Henry VIII's eldest daughter, Mary. Mary married King Philip II of Spain, her relative, but they had no children. Later, Mary's sister Elizabeth became queen. She chose not to marry. When she died in 1603, her closest living relative who could succeed her was King James I of Scotland, the grandson of her aunt Margaret. This event facilitated the union of the English and Scottish thrones and marked the rise of the Stuart dynasty.